just making this video really quick to respond to the video I made yesterday as like kind of a follow-up. What happened yesterday was this, okay? After weeks and weeks and weeks of priming everyone to basically kill each other as soon as they announced this grand jury decision in the Darren Wilson case, in the Michael Brown shooting in Ferguson, after weeks of the government getting overly involved in this particular case, after weeks and weeks of the media milking this story and playing it into the 24/7 news cycle, embedding it in the mass collective consciousness of America and the world, basically, for weeks on end, harping on this. We came down to the day of the decision, which did happen right after Obama's executive amnesty, coincidentally. We came down to this decision, and they announced the time they were going to announce it, and they said 8 p.m. Central. They're going to announce the decision. Live. Live, derisive air quotes. Live, right? Okay? And I made the video yesterday because at 8:01 p.m., USA Today was already reporting it was a no. That was before the St. Louis County prosecutor ever announced anything or even showed up at the podium to say anything. So all of these people had advanced knowledge of this, okay? The script had already been given out to people. But the point that I was trying to make here in this video is, obviously there's advanced knowledge, so why is anyone acting surprised? Why is anyone acting like this matters? Why is anyone? Because immediately after they announced it, boom, you got buildings burning. But if people already knew, if the family already knew, why did the mom go screaming down the street after the announcement if she already knew? So they already knew, but the mom still went screaming down the street out of the courthouse in front of all of the protesters, setting the whole thing off. And then immediately you have buildings on fire. Immediately you had that one cop car on fire, which apparently they just let burn so that every news outlet could film it into oblivion. And they just all stood by and let that burn. Didn't do anything to really stop that one at all. Just let that one go. Do you see what I'm saying, though? They primed everyone for weeks and weeks. They set it all up. They chose a case where there's no clear-cut answer here because it's a gray area on both sides so that both sides can feel right, so that both sides can get at each other, so they can cause everyone to fight. And then, after the quote-unquote live announcement, everything starts burning right on cue. You know, I even got this comment from a Facebook friend, Craig Wood. He said, at approximately 9 p.m. as seen on live footage, Ferguson police started in advance and started gassing and firing rubber bullets at a relatively peaceful crowd. The advance continues as I make this post. Right on cue. Okay? Just like a movie. Look at this. Look at this. They even have a graphic and everything. This is like an election and an award show and a Super Bowl all mixed together in a blender. Okay? And they set everybody off with it. And they pushed everyone's buttons. And look, now the town's burning, and they've got protests going on in cities all across America, shutting down roads and all this stuff. Okay? They were able to push everyone's buttons so easily. They had advanced knowledge of this. They knew what the verdict was, and they still waited until 8 p.m. so it was nice and dark. And then they just set everybody off like a pack of wild dogs. Right on cue. Just like it's a movie. If all these people really knew in advance, and the media knew in advance, and all the protesters really knew in advance, why did they wait until exactly after the supposedly live announcement to do anything and start setting buildings on fire? And oh, by the way, just on a side note, why set your city on fire anyway? Okay, you're going to protest the police state, and so the response to the police state being horrible is we set our own city on fire so that the police state can then get bigger, so they can add more cops, so that next time you see them, they won't just look as psychotic and soldier-esque as they do now, but it'll look more like RoboCop or something, so they can crack down harder, so they can make our lives worse, so we can live in a worse police state, because that's what's going to happen here. It's not going to matter if you're black, white, or anything. This is going to suck for everyone. That's what always happens with these things. This is history repeating itself. This happens every time, by the way. Why is everyone acting surprised? I could have told you guys what the decision was going to be weeks ago. Everybody pretty much knew it. But we still went through this whole motion of pretending that it's alive and pretending that we're awaiting this big decision. Oh my gosh. And then everything gets set on fire. Really? Everybody got their buttons pushed. The cops immediately started firing on the crowd without any provocation. Is that what happened? That's what it sounds like. That's what people are saying. And not people that have a vested interest in either side, just activists who were watching the live feed. They're like, suddenly the police just advanced. Suddenly cars just set on fire. Suddenly buildings on fire. Suddenly the whole city is in ruins. Really? For a decision that apparently people already knew, so we're just all going to pretend like we didn't? This is ridiculous. Can you imagine, by the way, what it's going to be like when a real disaster hits this country? Like an actual disaster, a World War III level event, or even just a big natural disaster event. I mean, if this is how easily the government and the media can push the buttons of people and make them basically do whatever they want them to do, I've already talked about how many shootings there have been where clearly the person who was shot was clearly 100% innocent, clearly no reason to be shot, and the cops shot them and killed them. And none of this is going on. No buildings are being burnt to the ground. You know, Jay Nixon called in the National Guard and didn't even have them down in Ferguson. Go ahead and ask yourself why that is. Why do you call the National Guard out if he wasn't even going to have them there to, guard? But now they're there. After things are all burnt down and stuff, then he had them down there. This is orchestrated. Everybody knew what the grand jury's decision was. This is all BS, completely. And it makes me sad. And I can't imagine what it's going to be like in this country when something actually happens that would unite us all otherwise. People are just going to lose their damn minds. If we can't get a handle on ourselves and stop letting our buttons be pressed by these people with their fakery, bread and circuses, wag the dog nonsense, can you imagine when it's FEMA camp time? Yeah, that's no conspiracy here. This video is not about the conspiracy. This isn't a conspiracy. No, this is right in your face. And you know what's actually going on now in the background of this, by the way? Right before Thanksgiving, guess what Obama's going to do? He's about to pass 3,415 new regulations, which apparently it's become the unfortunate tradition of this administration to do late on a Friday, right before a holiday. They've done it now in the Obama administration 5 times. Thousands of new regulations. And you're not going to hear about that in the media, probably hardly at all. And you're definitely not hearing about the amnesty. You're really not hearing about anything else. You're just hearing about this. The fact that we even had to go into a whole pretend they're awaiting the decision, and everyone acted like, ooh, I don't know what it's going to be. Oh, now we know. Oh my gosh, I'm going to burn things down. This is all a show. This is all a bunch of singing and dancing. And the fact that people are falling for it enough to burn their own town down, if it is even people that did this and not provocateurs. Senator McCaskill from Missouri actually said that she was on the phone with Obama a couple days ago last week, and he had been in touch with the leaders of every major civil rights group in the country over Ferguson. Right before he's about to pass amnesty, he doesn't have better things to do. This was all provocateured. They built up the drama to a point where they could get this reaction, and they did it easily, and it worked so well. If they can do this to us, and by us, I mean to the majority of people in this country that would, be a part of this, if they can do that to you, if they can mind control you so easily, if they can manipulate your emotions so easily, they've got you. You're a slave. People want to say, of course, the media had advanced knowledge. Okay, then why are we supposed to care? Why are we supposed to care when this happens? Why are we supposed to get emotionally invested in this story? Why are we supposed to continue to follow this story on every major news channel?
This is what community looks like.
This what community looks like? Really? A bunch of people that are only angry, outraged, and mad about something when they're told to be. If the media and the government had not whipped this up complicitly into the riots that they predictably got, would this be what community looks like? Is this what community looks like, or is this what a bunch of slaves look like who jump when they're told to jump? It's just sad. I wish people would wake up. I really do.